everybody. Uh, I'm Johara Harper, and it is the release of my newest book, and I'm very excited for it. Um, it is called The Realm Monsters, and I am so excited for this release. I've been amping it up all month. There was a pre-order for the ebook, and it is now available in ebook, paperback, and hardcover. So you can get whichever one you prefer to read from. And yeah, so The Realm of Monsters is about so well, there's several characters that it kind of follows, but mostly Kalista, and there's a lot about her past as well. Kalista is a vampire. Then there's Roxanne, who is a werewolf. Then there's Henry, who's a cyclops. Isabella, who's a witch. Jeremy, who's a warlock. And Eric, who is a centaur. And you also get to meet a few immortal beings that aren't actually monsters. And then you get to meet a couple other vampires as well from Kalista's past. Because like I said, it's a lot about Kalista's past. And because the villain is actually from her past, somebody that hurt her a lot. And I'm not going to get too spoilery in this. I'm just going to tell you what it's about. So I won't tell you exactly about that much about their past. Just know that Caleb, the villain, has hurt Kalista a lot in many ways, and he threatens her safety by going to the realm of monsters, where she has made her home for the last several centuries, or think about 1,000 years actually. So she obviously wants to stop him, and then her friends decide to go along with her to help her, which she doesn't really have many friends. She's a bit of a loner. She tends to stay to herself. She doesn't like to be all that feeling because it has gotten her in the past. The only people she actually cares about is the Kami family, which Isabella and Henry, who are brother and sister, are part of the Kami family. So she loves them. And the other people just decide to go with her because they care about Isabella and Henry, and they care about Kalista, and they wanted to help. Well, that's why Jeremy went with them at least. Roxanne left because she has feelings for Kalista. She just doesn't know yet. She figures it out pretty soon, though. I have a couple people in the chat. Yay! Okay, so hi. Yes, it is very excited. I am very excited for the release of this book, and I'm just very happy. Hi. Thank you. Yeah. So fun fact. This story I actually came up with. Well, a story similar to this I came up with back in high school. It was actually my first real novel idea, even before I created Jasmine Perez, which I created that when I was I think 19. And this one I actually came up with back in high school, but it got lost when I was writing it, like the first draft. But I still remembered it. The story is a lot different than what I originally wrote. It's a lot better now that I'm actually a published author, and my writing has far improved from when I first actually wrote this story. But so I was able to reinvent it and make it better so I was able to do that, and now it is published finally. It's amazing finding an old story and rewriting it. Yes, definitely. And I'm very happy with how it turned out, because there's still a lot of similarities from what it was back then. The Greek part, because there's a lot of Greek mythology, that's still the same. But and then Kalista's character is still the same, and Roxanne's. They had different names back then, but they're still the same. And it had a different story too. Or it's still a different title. I don't remember what the title was back then, but I'm very happy with how it turned out. this time around. And yeah, so if you guys have any questions about it, non-spoilery questions, of course, about the Realm of Monsters, I'll be happy to answer. Where did you get the names from? So Calista, I'm trying to think if I remember correctly. I think I just went on Google and typed in like names, because that's what I tend to do. If I can't come up with names, I'll just be like, I need some female names, male names, whatever. So nothing like fabulous about how I figured out how to name them. I just found names that I liked for the characters and went with them. But yeah, like I said, this is a lot about Khaleesi's past, but you don't get as into her past in the first book. You get more so into it in the second book. And so part of the story is in the monster realm, and part of it is in the mortal realm. Because they're trying to, Caleb wants to, this isn't really that much of a spoiler, it's just his overall goal. And that is to basically destroy humanity, because he felt like monsters were unfairly moved to their own realm when they should stay in the original realm, the mortal realm, where humans are. Because the realm of monsters was created so that monsters could go somewhere and be free and be safe there, without being hunted by humans or something. So Caleb wants to destroy humanity so that monsters can go back into the mortal realm, but monsters don't want to go back into the mortal realm. They're happy where they are in the monster realm. They can be free and safe and don't have to worry. And it's also, especially since the mortal realm at this time it's like during this year, 2022, 2023, whatever. So it's all modern, and monsters, they moved to the monster realm before it was modernized, obviously, because that was like 1,000 years ago. So it's not modern. I mean, they still, and there's like literal magic in the air because the realm was created for monsters. So it's magic everything, and they don't want the mortal realm anymore because it's not to their liking. I mean, it's made for humans, and this realm was specifically made for monsters, so they prefer it that way. So they have to try to stop Caleb from ruining their lives and from destroying humans. Is he the one that tortured Calista? Caleb, yeah. He had tortured her in the past, and so him coming back obviously is reopening a lot of wounds for Calista, but she's trying to hide that because she doesn't want to be vulnerable. But the only people she kind of, I say kind of because she's still, even with them, she isn't exactly letting herself be vulnerable, but she kind of is with Isabella and Henry, because they are family to her, like the only family she's ever really had. That learning why Calista is part in the story, you learn why Calista is so close to the commies anyways, the commie family anyways. So they're her family and she loves them, but Roxanne, who is learning she has feelings for Calista, won't let Calista just push her away, because that's what Calista does. Is there anyone in the monster realm who might like to explore the mortal realm? I wouldn't say so. I mean, most of the monsters just don't even really think about the mortal realm or humans at all anymore. They just live their monster lives in the monster realm. But Roxanne was actually from the mortal realm. Yeah, she's a werewolf, but there are some people that if some monsters live in the mortal realm, not very much, but there are some monsters that prefer it, and Roxanne's family are some of them. But Roxanne never felt like she belonged in the mortal realm. She wanted to be able to be free to be who she is, because she obviously had to hide her werewolfness when she was in the mortal realm, and she didn't like that. She never felt like she truly belonged. And so after the prologue in the first chapter, you follow Roxanne in that chapter so she can go to the mortal realm, or the monster realm. So you see it. So when she first goes to the monster realm, when you first see the monster realm, it's going through her eyes, and because she's never been there before, and it's very different. And but for the first time in her life, she feels like she truly belongs somewhere, and she doesn't have to hide being a werewolf. She can. There's this one scene somewhere in near the beginning where she's at the park, and she sees some werewolves in werewolf form at the park, and it's very she felt very happy and very herself, because she's able to do just that. She can go around in her werewolf form and not get a bunch of scared looks, freaks, or get run out of town or something. So for the first time in her life, she feels like she belongs, and she's very happy and content. So she can just be herself, and she doesn't have to worry about humans or hiding who she is anymore. So, hi! Thank you for coming, and thank you. Yes, I'm very excited for release day. Do all the monsters have different lifespans? No, every monster is immortal, and they have different ways they can die, because obviously even immortals can die like vampires. They obviously have their few weaknesses that can kill them, like a stake through the heart or sunlight. So because of that, they have different ways they can die depending on what kind of monster you are. But everyone in the monster realm is called immortal, which is why it's called, why the mortal realm is called mortal realm instead of humans, because monsters call humans mortals, because they're obviously not immortal. Do Roxanne and Calista know each other from the mortal realm? No. Calista, I mean, she lived in the mortal realm before there was a monster realm. I won't get too into it because that's a spoiler for book 2, but she was actually there when the monster realm was created. But Roxanne, all the monsters that you meet are at least a couple hundred years old, but not a Roxanne. She's only in her early 20s. But she is immortal, obviously, because she's a werewolf. She just hasn't been alive that long. So, yeah, they do not know each other because Calista has not been to the mortal realm since she went to the monster realm when it was first created. Great questions. Thank you. I love answering these questions. So, yeah, they do not know each other, but when they meet, Roxanne is immediately smitten, and she didn't even know she was bisexual yet until she met Calista. And then throughout the first book, you see that kind of inner turmoil, because before she met Calista, she thought she was straight, because, I mean, yeah, she's been attracted to guys, and she's been in relationships with guys a couple times, but now all of a sudden she meets this girl, and she's very different than anyone she's ever met, and she is very intrigued from the very beginning. So they're kind of the main ship, I guess. I think there's only, let me see. So the romances in this series are Calista and Roxanne, Isabella and Jeremy, Pisistros and Atlas, and then Frederick and Athena. Those are the ships, because I know a lot of people love the romance aspects. But even the main ship, that's not what the story is about. The story is about so much more than any of the couples, and the main theme is found family, because all these people, even though some of them already care about each other, like Calista cares about Isabella and Henry, and a little bit of Jeremy, just because she's known him as almost as long as Isabella and Henry, because he has been best friends with Isabella their entire lives. And then Jeremy obviously cares about Isabella and Henry, and a little bit Kalista as well, because he's known her his entire life. And then Roxanne becomes close friends to Jeremy and Eric. And but since they're all forced to hang out to battle this enemy, they're all forced to stay together, and they all become close without meaning to. And then they become like this one big family, like I said, without meaning to. If you guys want, I could read like a snippet or two of my new book, Throne Monsters. If anyone wants to see kind of what it's about a little bit, I could read maybe the prologue, and you guys can see how the prologue looks, if that's an interest to anybody. Let's see. I'm really excited for this book. Everything sounds great. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm excited for it too. I am very happy with how this book turned out, and I'm very happy for people to finally be able to read it, and I hope people enjoy it. Thanks. Yeah, I would love to read maybe the prologue, and you guys can hear how the story starts, because the prologue is of Kalista like 1,000 years ago, before the Monster Realm, obviously, and so before, and then chapter 1 starts with nowadays, present time, and shows Roxanne going to the Monster Realm. So let me pull that up, and I can read a snippet of it, and you guys can see how the story starts. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna read the prologue. So she ran. Her legs moved faster than they've ever moved in the past. She almost fell over her dress countless of times. Holding up the bottom was work in itself. If her heart could still beat, it would be beating out of her chest by now. Good thing she no longer has a breath, because she couldn't keep running if she had to worry about something as insignificant as breathing. Kalista! She let out a gasp as she forced her long legs to move faster. Her normal blue eyes flashed red. Her only thought was that she had to get as far away as she could. She couldn't let him reach her, not after everything he did to her, not after what he turned her into. She felt something different about her body. Her legs felt lighter. Her body felt like it was shrinking, like she was getting smaller. She felt like she was flying. Her vision has been better than ever since the transformation, but now it seems to be even better than before. As she stared at the darkened night sky, stars twinkling down upon her, she looked down and saw that she was flying higher and higher, but she was no longer in the shape she was only mere moments ago. Her tiny body was now a brownish gray, but her wings were closer to black. Wait, wings? She's a bat! Her yellow eyes glowed brightly as she soared higher into the sky. She grinned as she flew as high as her wings would carry her. He can't reach her now. She was free. She could get away from him now. The weight was off her shoulder. The fear was out of her chest. She crashed into something in the air and began falling, her head in a cloudy daze. Remembering that she could fly, she flapped her wings and soared back upward and into the night sky. Her yellow eyes met another pair of yellow eyes. Even in his bat form, she knew who he was, one of Caleb's lackeys. Caleb made you, Kalista. You really think he can't find you anywhere? Get away from me! Her voice cracked, her thick Greek accent evident. Her eyes shined with fear. You and Caleb can both go to hell. She flew downward. He sighed. Both of our souls live in hell now, Kalista. Don't fight it. Kalista flew toward the ground and transformed back to her human form, still in the air, and fell a few feet to the ground. Groaning, she got to her feet as quickly as possible, dusting off her dress. Taking a quick glance around, she began running again. Her long, wavy black hair that went down to her waist blew harshly in the wind. She kept having to brush her hair out of her face. She ran into someone as he wrapped her arms around her tightly, keeping her from running again. She saw his face and freaked out. Caleb! His grip around her was tight, and his strength was undeniable. She doesn't think she'll ever be that strong. She was just transformed into this monster recently. Her strength and speed may enhance too, maybe even more so than his. He isn't even the same monster as he turned her into. Caleb slammed her into a tree, causing her to groan in pain. She felt blood trickle down the back of her head. Her eyes drooped, but she tried to force them open. She needed all the strength she could muster. She had to get away from him. She just had to, somehow. Her head throbbed, her vision blurred as they were back to their blue coloring. Her hearing was fuzzy. If she had a heartbeat, she swore it would have slowed to a scarily slow beat. Her eyes watered as she forced them back. She wanted him to know that, despite the fact that it was the year 1225, she was still a strong and capable woman. She was always considered a freak growing up. She hates dresses and tends to steal her older brother's baggy clothes, feeling more comfortable in pants and sweatshirt. She was 25 years old, and she still wasn't married, nor did she try to find some man she would never love. It doesn't help that she's attracted to women, which isn't exactly thought of as a good thing. She's a very opinionated woman and a fighter. She's not afraid to speak her mind, nor afraid to call a man's behavior, which had gotten her under some hot water in the past, to the point where she was even disowned by her family. Caleb brushed his fingers past her deathly pale skin. She winced at his touch, moving her head away from him. He forcefully forced her head back forward, forcing her eyes to meet his. His eyes were dark brown. They nearly looked black. His ragged brown hair swayed in the wind. He was tall, but so was she. He must have been only a hair taller. He had such intensity about him, but she would stand her ground. She never backed down from a man before, and she refuses to now. You're mine, Callista. I own you, Caleb told her. I made you what you are. What? Callista asked. A monster? A beautiful creation, Caleb replied. You're vile, she spat in his face. Horrid. Caleb just chuckled and psychotically. Caleb just chuckled psychotically. He let go of her and her weakened legs fell to the ground. Her cheek met with the grass. She looked up at him, his evil smile showing the devil within. Nighty-night, Callista. I'm not done with you yet, my little vampire. Vampire? What's a vampire? Is that what he's calling the thing he turned me into? Callista tried her hardest to stay awake, to stay alert. She used all the strength she could muster to get to her feet, but it wasn't enough. She might have a concussion. Can things like her vampires get concussions? Sighing, she gave into the sleep. She felt tugging at her. Her eyes fluttered closed as everything soon went black. So that was the prologue. Kind of intense way to start the story, but yay! I hope everyone enjoyed my little snippet. Tell me what you thought of it. Woo! Yeah, very intense way to start out the story. I hope you guys enjoyed it and that you'll, buy the book eventually. I'm very happy with it. And if anyone has any more questions, I could answer a few more questions. I like it when books start out intense, so it was right up my alley. Oh, well, thank you. Yes, book starting out intense is very intriguing. I also like to read books that start out intense. Yes, the monster realm is very different than the mortal realm, and you see that in the very first chapter. Well, chapter 1, because there's obviously the prologue before that, but you see how different the monster realm is from the mortal realm, and I really had a lot of fun writing that. Writing all these different things, like, for instance, the things they eat and drink. Honestly, one of the hardest things to write about this book was the food and drinks, because I didn't want them to, eat and drink normal things, so I had to come up with things I consider monsters might enjoy, and that was hard sometimes, but I found my creative streak, and I came up with some creative things for them to eat and drink other than, food that we would eat or drink. Did you like writing the beginning, the middle, or the end best? Oh, good question. Um, I say the end. I mean, yeah, the prologue is very intense, and that was a lot of fun to write. But uh, obviously, there was a lot of world building that had to happen at the beginning after the prologue. And you get to explore the monster realm a little bit to see how it's different from the mortal realm. And that was fun to do. Don't get me wrong, I love world building, but the end it gets even more intense in the prologue, and so much is going on. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll just say the group gets separated, and they're both in trouble for different reasons, and so it kind of ends with both cliffhangers, and that was a lot of fun to write. But I liked writing the entire theme, but the end has to be my favorite because so many twists and turns happened. Um, and I love a good twist. There was definitely this one twist near the end, um, or maybe two. I'm actually, I'm sure. I'm trying to think because this other twist, I don't think you actually find out what's going on until book 2, so it's not actually a twist. But this one twist, that's definitely a twist. I really enjoyed writing. It would cause some shock because you would not see that coming. Heck, I didn't even see it coming. I wasn't originally gonna do that, but then I came up with this idea. I was like, hey, I like this. Let's do it. I love when that happens when you're writing and then something shocking happens that not even you could foresee. It's a great feeling while writing. But I hope you guys liked my prologue and you guys will check it out. It's you can find it under the Realm of Monsters or my name, Johara Harper. My first name is right there, so you can read it and know how to spell it because it gets misspelled all the time. But like I said, it's available on ebook, paperback, and hardcover. It's crap. How many pages is it again? I've written long books before. The biggest book I've ever written, even after this book, was The Witch of Light, which is the sequel to The Curse of Light. It is over 700 pages. I think it's close to 800 pages, actually. I might be wrong, but I think so. And it's the biggest book I've ever written. But most of the books that's like at the beginning of the series, like the first book in the series, is usually 200 to 300 pages at most. Not this book. I had so many ideas, plus all the world building, and this book turned out to be, let me check, 548 pages. So, yeah. So, it's a bit of a chunker, but some people like big books. I'm one of them. So, if you do, you'll definitely like this. If you like an extensive world with a lot of world building, and I've seen books. People promote books by saying, Harry Potter meets Percy Jackson. Those are the first things I thought of. Harry Potter meets Percy Jackson. If you like both of those series, you'll like this. And I've never actually done that because I never actually could think of like two shows or books or movies or whatever that my book is a lot like. But for this one, I actually have one, and I'm excited to start promoting it like this. It's Monster High meets Percy Jackson because the Percy Jackson part has a lot of Greek mythology. Because I said that part of it's in the monster realm, part of it's in the mortal realm. And when they do go to the mortal realm, they're not in America, they're in Athens, Greece, which is Khaleesi's hometown. And you definitely get into a little Greek mythology. I don't think it's there's that much Greek mythology in the first book, but there will be more in the sequel. And then let's see. And then the Monster High part is because it's about monsters, obviously. And when I originally made the story, I actually originally made it so they were in high school, but then I changed it before I lost story to where they're in college. Actually, no, I think I started out with them in college. I don't think I ever had them in high school. Yeah, I think I started out with them in college, so it was similar. But now, they're not they're not in a school or anything. They do mention a witch and warlock school, but yeah, and so it definitely has some Monster High aspects and some Percy Jackson aspects. So if you like both, or if you just like monsters and Greek mythology, then just definitely check out my story. Does anyone have any more questions for me? Um, I I loved writing this story, and I am gonna love writing the sequel. I've already written the first 2 chapters because I like to have like the first 2 chapters in the next book at the end of the book I write, because I know some books did that, and then I started doing that, and now it just became habit. So I've written the first 2 chapters of the sequel, and those are the only 2 I've written so far, and those 2 chapters are at the end of the Realm of Monsters. So if you guys want to, if you guys do buy it and read it and enjoy, if you guys want to read what's after that, then definitely you can kind of see what's going on a little bit. But I haven't worked on it that much. I'm going to be working on it again soon, but not in November. I probably will start working on it again in December, because in November I'm mostly going to be working on The Vicious Militants, which is the sequel series to The Curses Light, because I want to get that one done, because I've been working on that, I think, longer than the Realm Monsters, actually, but I just got really into the Realm Monsters, and all my focus went on that. So yeah, but I will be working on the sequel again soon, and I do hope to publish it next year. So definitely keep your eyes out for that if you end up enjoying this one. Will it go on Kindle Unlimited? Yes. Yes, it will be on Kindle Unlimited. So it's on KU, and then you can buy the ebook if you don't have Kindle Unlimited, paperback, and hardcover. The only thing it's not available on is audiobook. Do you have an idea for when you'll publish book 2? I do not. Like I said, I do plan for it to be sometime next year, but when, I do not know. Like I said, I will be starting to work on it again in December, but I have no idea how much I'll work on it in December. It depends on how big my motivation is, because some months I'm like highly motivated and all I want to do is write. Some months I get busy or I'm just not in the mood, so I have less writing time, which happened this month. I didn't get that much writing done this month, but I hope it's earlier, not like early in the year, but within the first 6 months. So maybe by June, 6 months into the year, June or July, I can get it published, but no promises. I'm just going to work on it until I'm happy with how it turned out. Plus, there's, editing and all that. So we'll see how it turns out. But like I said, I do plan for it to be published at some point next year. I'm not entirely sure when. I'll get a better idea of that once I actually start heavily writing it, and then I'll be like, hey, I think it might be able to be done by this point. And yeah, so I'll definitely announce it on my Twitter. If you guys want to follow me on there, you can find me at The Witchy Reader. And I post a lot about my books on there, or my author group on Facebook. I also post on there a lot. Author Johara Harper. And I also have a writer's Discord, which I post in sometimes. So that's called Writers Unite. So yeah. But like I said, I did start book 2, so it started, and I know where I want the story to go. I have ideas written on my phone. Where is my phone? My phone's over here. So I have the ideas of what I want to happen on there. Some of them I don't plan out like every little detail. I plan out just the major things I want to happen. Or if I do come up with an idea, I'll write it down so I don't forget. So I know what's going to happen. I know where I want the story to go. It's just a matter of actually sitting down and writing it. So I will be doing that soon. And I'll definitely keep you guys updated if you follow me on one of those things about when I think book 2 will be created. But I will tell you guys what the title is because I already have the title down, and that is The Vampire's Creation. Because like I said, you learn a lot more about Khaleesi's past in this one. And so there you go. The Vampire's Creation is what it's called. I also have the cover for it already because when I was getting this series, jotted down all the ideas I have for it, I went ahead and titled all 3 of them and made all 3 covers because I was bored, so why not? But I usually don't do a cover reveal. I usually do the cover reveal after I finish writing the first draft and before I start editing. So that's usually when I do the cover reveal. Except for I usually have a few people close to me that I'll give a sneak peek to the cover before anyone else gets to see it. So they can see it, they get the first look of what the cover looks like. So maybe I will do that soon, so you guys can see what the cover of the sequel book looks. But most of you will probably have to wait until I do the cover reveal. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'm very happy with it. I hope it looks as good as I think it looks. But I love the cover for the Realm Monsters. That for those of you that do not know, the cover for the Realm Monsters is what the portal looks like when you go from the mortal realm to the monster realm. You get to see that a few times, and I describe what the cover looks like every time a portal happens. And if anyone wants to know where you can get portals, I can explain that. There's for the monsters that choose to live in the mortal realm, every monster gets to be issued by the realm leader, Astoria, who is Isabella and Henry's mom. She's the realm leader, and she will issue monsters in the mortal realm a portal, their own portal, in case they want to get back to the monster realm and get supplies, because it's not like the mortals really have anything that suits the monsters. So they can get supplies and stuff and go on little errands if they need something. But you have to be issued a portal because there are obviously, just like people, there are good and bad people, and the same with monsters. There are good and bad monsters. So Astoria will issue a portal to whoever she thinks deserves one, and that's how Roxanne gets to the monster realm in the first place. But Roxanne's family actually has 2 portals. They have the normal portal that most people get issued, which is where they have a door or a closet that's enchanted. So every time you open the door, the portal is just right there, and it's this swirling thing, and it looks like what the cover looks like, and you can go through that way. But Roxanne, her mom gave her this portable portal, so it's a necklace, and all she has to do is hold it and then think about the monster realm she wants to go, which is where she wants to go, and then the portal will come out of her amulet and will be right there, and then as soon as she goes through, it will disappear. So yeah, you see that a few times because, like I said, part of it's in the monster realm, part of it's in the mortal realm. So you do see it a few times throughout book 1, and then probably in book 2. I don't think you're gonna see it much in book 3 because book 3 is I think if what I have planned actually happens in book 3, then I think they're gonna be in the monster realm the entire time. So yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. I like the idea of a portable portal. And it definitely helps so that they can get back and forth from the realms easier. And I really like that idea. So does anyone have any more questions for me? I'd love to answer a few more before we end the stream. I'll probably only make the stream an hour, so at 2 we'll end it. So if anyone has any more questions, we have 20 more minutes till I plan to end the stream. You guys can ask questions about anything as long as they're not too spoilery. You can, if you want to know about the characters, the relationships, whether it's romantic or platonic. I told you some about Kalista, and I didn't get that much into the other characters. So if you want to know about the other characters, you can even ask things like, what's my personal favorite character? Which is Kalista. I love writing about her because she's different than most of my main characters. Most of my main characters are very lawful good. Kalista's more morally gray because like she will do what's needed to be done, but she has a good heart. I dressed up for Halloween today. I think I'll do a closet cosplay. I was originally going to go to a Halloween party tonight, and I was going to go to Spirit Halloween and get a costume of Dracula from Monster Ice, and Spirit Halloween's coming out with a bunch of Monster High costumes, but we don't have the money right now, and the Halloween plans fell through. So I'll just be doing the live. I'm on a live. Okay. So yeah, that's my plans. I'd like to hear more about the relationships. Okay, so like I told you, the Kalista and Roxanne have this bond, and they definitely have feelings for each other in the book. Kalista's more willing to push her away, but one of Kalista's old friends that she runs into, that she recruits to help, kind of notices the bond, so she asks her about it, but Kalista's all in denial. Then Jeremy and Isabella get together. They've been best friends their entire lives, and they fall in love. And then there's Pisistros and Atlas, which you don't get that much into. Like, I can't explain why because that's too much of a spoiler. And then there's Frederick and Athena, which you also don't get too much into, but for a different reason. I think you'll get more into them a little bit in the sequel, though. And then, so those are the romantic relationships. And then the platonic ones, there's Isabella and Henry, who are, like I mentioned, are siblings. Yes, Isabella is a witch, and Henry is a Cyclops, but Henry did not have a family when they were kids, so Astoria ended up adopting him, and he's been part of the family for centuries. Then there's Jeremy and Isabella, who are best friends. Like I said, Kalista has a connection to the Kami, so she cares deeply about Isabella and Henry, and is very protective of both of them. And then Roxanne and Eric become friends, and so do Roxanne and Jeremy. And then you run into some of Kalista's old friends from before she went to the Monster Realm, Athena, Frederick, and Pisistros. So you get to see a little bit because they are a part of her past. So you learn a little bit about them, not that much until the sequel, obviously. Also, if you could do a sweet cosplay of any of your characters, who would you pick? Great question. I think I choose Kalista just because her style is very different from mine. And if I would cosplay a character, I'd want to do someone who doesn't obviously dress like I would normally dress. I mean, so like I said, the Monster Realm is not modernized like the Mortal Realm. And what I have not mentioned is that they live in medieval castles, like medieval times, and they drive carriages, and they wear old time clothes you would see back then. So I think it'd be a really 18th century sort of thing or something. And I think it would be really fun to dress as one of them, like Kalista or Isabella. I'd say Roxanne's the closest style to mine, so I wouldn't dress up as her just because it wouldn't feel like dressing up as her, because I would be wearing something similar to what I usually wear. But one of the other monsters I think it'd be really fun to dress up as, because it would just be a lot of fun. It must be interesting to try a different kind of character. Yes, definitely. I mean, I've had characters like Kalista before, but they were usually side characters or minor characters. It's definitely different to write a morally great MC because you're following her around. But it was a lot of fun to get into a morally great character to write mainly about her. Thank you. Are there any characters you found difficult to write? I mean, there were a few. Kalista, yeah, because like I said, she's a different MC than I usually write, but I think she was the only one personality-wise that was hard to write. Well, that was a little bit more difficult than the others to write. But monster-wise, I feel like it was a little bit more difficult to write Henry and Eric, because not for the characters themselves, but for the type of monster it is. I had to do research, try to figure out how to make them more accurate. I mean, yeah, it's still my story, so they're not 100% accurate to old myths, but I wanted to get them somewhat accurate, because as you find out in the story, everything the mortals believe are not always true. They start out as rumors, and then the rumors become something more. Roxanne has to learn that several times. So I've never written a Cyclops or a Centaur before, so trying to write them was different, but it was fun. And yeah, Henry, for those of you that do not know, is my favorite side character. He's such a fun character to write. Like, he's just so sweet and so soft. Like, there's this one scene I absolutely love. I did a snippet of it the other day on Twitter, but he legit near the end, there's several times where there was a battle going on with the main characters, and then Henry would just grab his book, because he always has a book with him, and go off to the corner and just read while everyone else fights. Then near the end, when Caleb had confronted him again, he threw his book at him to make him stop harassing Kalista, and then Caleb's like, "You threw a book at me? Seriously, a book?" And yeah, I just love writing Henry's character. He had to be the most fun character to write, honestly. Thank you. What made you decide to make him like medieval? I guess I kind of like medieval types. I feel like they're very fun, and I've never been medieval before, and I kind of wanted to. Plus, I got into this new show, Merlin, and so. But that was only the last couple of days. But that only made me love medieval times more. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, and I knew I wanted to make their lives different than mortals, and medieval times are just so much fun and so interesting. So I was like, hey, why not have them live in medieval castles? That would be fun. Thank you. Is there a particular playlist you listen to while writing this book? No, I'd say whenever I do write, I just listen to whatever playlist I'm in the mood to listen to at the time. Whichever playlist I'm most into at the moment, or whatever. Lately, I've been listening to Monster High the movie playlist since that movie just came out, and I'm obsessed. So I've been listening to that playlist a lot. But the movie came out like after I finished the book, I think, because it came out earlier this month. So I don't remember what I actually listened to at the time. I switched playlists depending on my mood, on whichever songs I was in the mood to listen to at the time. So yeah. Yeah, Henry is a fun character to write, and I think he'll be a fun favorite, because he's not a fighter, and he's just so over all the fighting, so he just like walks away like every time, and I love it. So there is representation. Obviously, all my books have LGBT representation, but there's also a little other representation, because Henry has Asperger's. So there's that. But for LGBT representation, Kalista is not mentioned in book 1, I don't think, but it will be mentioned. And I don't know if I will end up mentioning it. I hope I do, so the readers know. But I am writing her to be pansexual. And then Roxanne is bisexual. Eric and Henry are both aro ace. Then Isabella is straight. Pisistratos is gay, so is his love interest Atlas. And then Jeremy, you actually find out is bisexual when you meet his ex, who is male. So yeah, I always have lots of representation in my books, and those other representations, I think I got them all, because Athena and Frederick are straight too. So I think I got all of it. I mean, you do meet, like I said, you meet Jeremy's ex, who's gay, and then you find out he's married, so his husband is gay, and then I don't think you meet his husband though, but he does introduce Athena and Roxanne to a friend of his because they needed help. I won't say why because that's too spoilery, but and the person you meet is a banshee, and they are non-binary, which you don't meet them until book 2 though, so you haven't actually gotten there yet. But I will tell you that you do meet a banshee that's non-binary, but you don't meet them until book 2. And they're not on very long; they're a minor character. But so lots of representation going on. If you were to make a mood board for the book, what kind of pictures would you have? Great question. I'd say darker themed. I mean, I'd definitely say it'd be darker themed. Maybe a dagger, some blood, vampires, and all that. Maybe black and dark purple kind of coloring. I can see it for. I do want to learn how to make mood boards for all my books, so I'll definitely be making one for the Realm of Monsters eventually and share it on Twitter and my author group on Facebook and everything. So, I would definitely do that. Yeah, I'd say black and purple would be a good color for it to be. For the pictures, I can see a dagger, some blood, and those are the only things I can think of off the top of my mind. But I think that kind of shows the essence of the Realm of Monsters pretty well. So yeah, but making a mood board could be fun, which is why I want to, do it eventually. I could answer a couple more questions before 2:00, so ask away. But great questions so far. Are there lots of types of weapons? Not in the first book. There's a scene when everyone is looking through weapons. I want to say maybe in the middle of the book, a little closer to the end, where they're going through weapons, trying to find the perfect weapon for them because they were going to go to battle and defeat Caleb. Obviously things did not go as planned, but so you get more into the weapons in the sequel when they actually do go on a full out battle with Caleb. There's swords and daggers, and other types. I can't remember what they are now, but there's a bunch you see. Does anyone use magic? Yes. Most of the monsters don't really have magic. Like Kalista, she obviously can turn into a bat. Then Roxanne can turn into a wolf form. Eric and Henry, I don't think have any abilities at all, really. But Isabella is a witch, and Jeremy is a warlock. So you see them use magic. Isabella uses a lot of magic. Jeremy's more into potions. You find out he's actually in witch warlock school, like college. He's still doing that and he wants to be a healer because the witches and warlocks, they go to school and then they learn what kind of witch they want to be, witch or warlock they want to be. There's different types. Isabella didn't really have to do all that because she knows what her destiny lies, which is to be the future leader of the realm after Astoria is finished. But Jeremy, he wants to be a healer, so he does mostly healing potions. You see that a lot, like whenever one of them gets injured, Jeremy's the one that heals them back to health. So yeah, sounds amazing. Will we see more of the school setting? No. I mean, maybe in the future. I mean, there's a lot going on in the first book, and then there will be a lot going on in the second book, but maybe in the third book I could definitely do that. I don't know. But I think that could be fun. Maybe they could, like, when they're trying to hide from the villains, they could hide in Jeremy's school. That would be fun. So yeah, I think there might end up being more of the school setting, just not until book 3. So you'll have to wait a little bit. I have so many plans for the series. Like, with Kalista being thousands of years old, there's just so much we can do with her character. So there's going to be this trilogy, the main trilogy, obviously. Then there's going to be a prequel trilogy about Kalista. I don't have that many ideas yet. I just know that there's just so much you can do with her character. But the prequel trilogy will be about her past with Caleb, and then I also thought that maybe doing a few novellas could be fun, because Kalista had so many adventures, after the events with Caleb, and then before she went to the monster realm. So much happened. There's so many adventures. I don't want to get too spoilery, like I said, but you find out she was in a few wars, a few epic wars. You find out that this isn't really much of a spoiler because it's only mentioned once briefly, but you find out that Kalista actually dated a few famous people back in the day, people who are well known, and one of those people was Joan of Arc. So maybe I can get more into their relationship and Kalista's adventures. I could name a novel or novella called Kalista's Adventures and just show like things she did, her little adventures she had before she went to the monster realm. Novellas or spin-offs following the other characters may be cool too. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that could be fun. Maybe a spin-off of Isabella and Jeremy and Henry or something. Yeah, that could be a lot of fun. If you guys come up with any ideas, I'll definitely think about it, and if I like the idea, I'll definitely do it someday. You could do many trilogies. Yes, I probably could. Like, there's just so much that can happen. I could do prequels. I can do spin-offs, like sequel series, like I'm doing a sequel series for The Crystal Light. I could do novellas. And yeah, there's just so much I can do with this world. Like, this world is so explicit. And Kalista being thousands of years old, plus most of my other characters except for Roxanne are all centuries old. So there's just so much I can do with these characters. Oh, I like the historical twist. Oh, thanks. Yeah. It's mentioned briefly, but there was a scene where Roxanne was talking to Athena, and she had already realized that she liked Kalista, so they were just talking about, and Roxanne was trying to trick her into saying, like, if she likes girls at all, because she still doesn't know Kalista that much. And then Athena kind of just said how Roxanne is not her type, and then started naming off people she had been with, both men and women. And yeah, so yeah, there's just a lot that can be said about all of these characters and the adventures that they played, and there's just a lot that can be said, and I'm very excited to do them. But I'm still only on the original series, so when I do the prequel or sequel or whatever I end up coming up with, that will be a while away because I still have to, do the other 2 books in the original trilogy. So yeah. But if you guys ever, if you're a fan of one of my books and come up with an idea to enhance the series, then I'm always open for you guys messaging me, and because I love to hear from readers and stuff. So if you guys, and I'll definitely consider if you guys want me to make a certain series about a certain character, and if I think it can work and I like the idea, I'll definitely do it eventually. So thank you. Yes, I have so many ideas that so many things can happen, so many, and I'm just very excited for the book release and for Realm Monsters. So I hope you guys check it out. Like I said, you can find it on Amazon. It's on KU for those of you that have Kindle Unlimited. You can also buy the ebook, paperback, or hardcover. So whichever ones you prefer. Thank you. Yes, I'm just so very excited. But it is 2 o'clock. I've been doing this live for an hour, so I think I'm going to stop it here. So, so I will. I would like to thank the people in the chat. I cannot speak. Chat, Tabby, and Lucy. And thank you again, Lucy, because she tweeted about my book release this morning. I woke up to that and a message from her congratulating me. So thank you very much to both of you for being my friends and being here with me on such a special day. And I will talk to you. I cannot speak today. I've been talking for like an hour straight. Okay, so I'll be talking to you guys soon.